Aging is a natural part of life. As we get older, the type of care we require and the living environment that is best suited to our needs is bound to change. So what options are out there as we get older in terms of care and housing, and how are these options being regulated? I spoke to Shannon Berg of Vancouver Coastal Health, Nicole Chandler of Churchill House, and BC Health Minister Mike DeYoung to find out what steps people can take when they think it's time for some extra help and how the system is being regulated in British Columbia. Can you tell us a little bit more about Vancouver Coastal Health, what it is and who it serves?
Vancouver Coastal Health is one of 5 geographic health authorities in British Columbia. It serves a geographic area which it goes from Central Coast. It's got Bella Coola and Bella Bella, Powell River, the north part of the coastline, through North Shore and Vancouver and Richmond.
What sort of services do you provide?
Everything from acute care through public health, through environmental health, home and community care, mental health and addiction, some primary care. It's a full range of services that you would expect to be provided by a government, by a Ministry of Health.
What kind of senior services are provided by Vancouver Coastal Health?
Seniors would be definitely represented in all of the services that we provide: acute care, public health, home and community care, mental health and addictions. More specifically, when the public thinks about senior services, often they think of what we provide within home and community care. And in BC, what we provide is some clinical services like home care nursing or ambulatory care nursing, some community rehab, occupational therapy and physical therapy, nutritional counseling, case management. And then there's some services seniors can receive in their home, like home support. They can go to adult day services. There's some other kinds of services that might be provided that are caregiver support services, things like that. And then where people can't remain at home anymore, they might go into assisted living or residential care.
So are there costs for these services, and what are they?
There are costs for some of the services that we provide within Vancouver Coastal Health and all of the health authorities. The home and community care services, the clinical services are all free. And for the first 2 weeks of service, if you've been in acute care, all of the supplies, IV medications and wound supplies, etc., would also be free. For home support and for adult day programming and for assisted living and residential care, there are costs to our clients, and those are as per policy with the Ministry of Health. So there's a financial assessment that's done for anyone receiving those services, and based on income, what they pay would be dependent. For assisted living, it's roughly 70% of after-tax income with a minimum and a maximum, and for residential care, it's roughly 80% of after-tax income, but there's also a minimum and a maximum.
What role does the ministry play in the services provided by Vancouver Coastal Health?
The health authorities are funded and monitored by the Ministry of Health. We're accountable for the services that we provide on behalf of the ministry, and we report them with a lot of indicators around quality, efficiency, and safety. We have a services plan that we submit to the ministry every year, and then we provide feedback about how we're doing on that service plan. The service plan has to be approved by the ministry because pretty much all of our funding comes from the Ministry of Health. And the other thing is that there's quite a bit of legislation that provides structure to the core services and the services that we provide. With regard to housing options, there are 3 pieces of legislation that are most important. One is the Continuing Care Act that provides for or enables us to provide the services that we provide in home and community care. The Community Care and Assisted Living Act is the one that's most frequently cited in terms of housing and care options for seniors. And that one sets up and enables assisted living and residential care to be in place, and has regulations attached to it.
How do caregivers determine when it is time for a resident to move into assisted living?
Caregivers would do that, or the client and the caregivers together would do that in consultation with and as part of a process with our staff, with our home care staff. Really, the best place for people to be, where people most want to be, but also the best place for them to be in terms of the health outcomes that they receive is at home or in their own community. What happens for folks when they get referred to or when they refer themselves to our services is that they would talk to someone in our central intake who is a healthcare professional, and that professional would work with them around what their needs are and what some of their goals are and what some of their supports are, and would refer them to the right professional within our health units. So we have central access numbers, and those are very freely available on the internet. The central intake then would send them to a unit and basically suggest the right person to go out first. And that might be a home care nurse, it might be an occupational therapist or a physiotherapist, or it might be a case manager. And that person will engage with our new client and the caregivers to do an assessment and say, okay, what are the things that you can do yourself, and what's your home situation like, and what's your medical situation like? What are the things that you want to be able to do or need to be able to do? What are your needs and what are your goals health-wise, and what's that gap? And then they'll work with the client and the caregiver to create a plan around that gap. And we try the best we can to support people in their home and within their community when it becomes no longer possible to do that. So when caregivers can't cope anymore, or our clients really aren't safe anymore, they can't function anymore at home, then that usually a case manager within our system would have that conversation with the client and the caregivers around what are your other options that are available, and can we bump up supports within the community, which would be our best, the best choice, or is that not going to work? And in that case, then they would go through the process of, what's assisted living, if that's the best option, or what's residential care, if that's the best option, and making that choice with the client.
Can you give us an overview about Churchill House and what kind of facility it is?
Yeah, Churchill House is a retirement community, independent living retirement community, but we also offer assisted living options. So our residents can, I always say, come and join us fit as a fiddle, not requiring any assistance at all, but maybe down the road they need a little help, and we can provide that. We can support them with whatever they need, non-medical services.
What sort of amenities are offered at Churchill House?
We have our tea room, we have a theater, we obviously have our dining and
Our
exercise room, fitness, yes. We have a guest suite. So the good portion of our amenities.
Now, how much does it cost to stay at Churchill House, and what services and utilities are included in the cost?
Our private pay, we are looking at $3,690 for a one-bedroom, and that includes your emergency response system, your 2 meals in the dining room. Our residents take care of the breakfast, but 2 meals in the dining room, weekly housekeeping, including a linen service, and then all the fun stuff. The bus trips, the fitness classes, the use of the amenity rooms, all the activities, the bridge, the entertainment. We have great entertainers that come in, so they get to play.
What are some of the benefits of staying in a facility like Churchill House?
Well, it affords families and the residents peace of mind. The family members know that mom and dad are being well taken care of, that they're eating well, that they're healthy, that they're out and about, and maybe getting in a little bit of exercise, but most importantly that they're safe and happy.
Are you a private or subsidized facility?
A little bit of both. So we do have connections with Vancouver Coastal Health, but we do have also private residents who come in with their family members to take up residence here.
How much does it cost to stay at Churchill House, and what services and utilities are included in the cost?
The utilities that are included would be hot water, gas, hydro, heat, and the extra utilities that a resident would need to take care of would be their cable and their telephone.
Can you give us a background on senior homes and other senior care facilities?
Well, it's a key part of what services that the government provides, and the objective is to ensure that all senior British Columbians can age and progress in a dignified way and have both the health care and the home support that they need as they grow older. So whether it's assisted living, which is something the government has developed over the last 10 years, or more comprehensive care options, over 13,000 new beds have been provided, and we think that's a pretty good start.
What kind of role is the Canadian government playing in the building and operation of such a senior care system?
Well, governments generally are fairly directly involved, and certainly the provincial government plays a major role. And it extends not just from building facilities or contracting with private care providers, but it's ensuring that the standards are in place, that when our parents or grandparents go somewhere for the final years of their life, it's the kind of place that we would want our parents or grandparents to go, that the services are there, the health care, and the support for them, whatever that support is that they need.
How many different kinds of senior care facilities are there in terms of funding and operation?
Whole variety, and it starts with support in people's homes. So a form of support for seniors, probably the best level of support, is keeping them where they want to be, which is in their own home. And so providing both home support, home medical support, is something that we have taken a real interest in and tried to expand. So what we've tried to do is ensure that there are standards in place, and those standards are set out in law, in legislation, in regulation. And there's actually something of a residents' bill of rights now, where residents or their families, if they encounter circumstances that they think inappropriate or the standards aren't being met, they can file a complaint and have that investigated, because the objective is to ensure that people are, as I've said before, dealt with in a very dignified way.
Do charitable organizations play any role in the operation of senior care facilities?
Oh, very much so. In fact, it's a key part of what we see developing, and there's a history to that. But nonprofit societies, cultural groups, religious denominations have historically played a role, and I see that role expanding, particularly when you consider our aging demographic. The reality is the state and the taxpayer won't be able to afford this all themselves, so we're going to need partners.
With all the senior care options available in British Columbia today, aging gracefully has never been easier. So whether you are suited for home care or opt for housing, there is sure to be a perfect fit for you. For Novus TV, I'm Christina Mang.